What's up YouTube? It's your boy ZTY Tune, back at you with another plant video real quick. Today I just want to go ahead and do a quick video on pest. I'm getting a lot of questions on how I keep my pest control down in the jungle, which I'm going to tell you right now, no house jungle, no garden center, no conservatory has zero pest. You're going to have pest every now and then. There's just too many leaves, too many plants to look up under every single leaf to see every little pest. So first of all, if you have a pest, you don't necessarily need to freak out. Like a lot of people are like, oh my God, I got one spider mite. Oh my God, I got one gnat. Oh, you do not need to freak out if you see one or two. Now, if you see a colony, that's a problem. But one or two bugs, first of all, is not an issue. I see maybe one gnat every now and then. I get questions on mosquitoes. I have never seen a mosquito in a house garden, let alone my house garden, so I'm not sure where people are getting mosquitoes from, but that's not a thing. Yeah, you'll get your occasional spider mites. I have a lot of Alocasias. Spider mites love Alocasias. So yeah, I'll get an occasional, and I got palms and Dracenas and stuff like, and yuccas. An occasional spider mite pops up. So yeah, I'll see a spider mite every now and then. I'll see white mites quite often. White mites are little, tiny little things, but those don't really mess with your plants. They more so just eat the decaying matter that's in your soil. So you might see them, little white, tiny little white dots. Just, it looks like sand, but it's white mites. Those don't really do too much damage. You don't want to see an infestation, obviously, but if you see a couple of them, that's not too bad. They're just eating, they're composing. Like that's what I'm saying. Some bugs are good, some bugs are bad. You have your predatory bugs like ladybugs, lacewings, things like that that actually eat the bad bugs. There's also some predatory spiders I know of that actually eat spider mites and things like that. So not every bug you see in your house necessarily is a scary one. Sometimes they might be a good bug. But let me go ahead, and that was just the intro. Let me go ahead and break down on, I have 8 things I kind of want to touch on to basically break down the preventative points to what you should do if you do and all that whatnot. So let's get into that real quick. I don't want to make this too long because not everybody has 2 hours to be watching, videos on pests. So let's just try to make this under like 10 minutes. But the first thing, buying healthy plants. Buying healthy plants is very important. If you buy a healthy plant from the store, most of the time you don't really have to worry about, bugs being in your soil, bugs attacking your plant, because the plant's healthy, it's doing well, it's going to be able to fight off the bugs. So buying a healthy plant, first of all, is a key way to start on not having pests. Now, sometimes you'll see a discounted plant at the store that doesn't look too bad, but it looks like it might need a little fixing up. It happens. A lot of my plants, I do that. I have a couple bird of paradises that I've gotten for very low. A lot of my plants I've gotten for very low because, sometimes it's not that type of season and people aren't buying it and they're just like, here, take it. So that happens. But just be aware of what you are bringing into your house when you do buy a damaged or unhealthy plant. When you bring it in, obviously separate that plant, take it into your shower. What I like to do personally is I like to take the plant, as soon as I bring it into the house, I take it straight into my bathroom and I give it a shower. I shower the plant off, up, bottom, top of the leaves, everything. I super shower that thing off with warm, coldish water. It's not super cold water, it's not warm water, but it's, in between, it's keeping it, it's not shocking the plant, but it's a nice little warm bath. It's not hot, but it's a nice little lukewarm bath. So go ahead and give it a nice little bath. And then I like to spray it down. Once I give it a nice hosing down, then I like to spray it down with the pesticide. I have a pesticide that I use that I'll show at the end of the video. I'll show all my stuff that I use at the end of the video, so that way you guys know what I'm using. Number two is basically what I kind of just touched on. When you bring your plants in to the house, make sure you spray them down. Make sure you take them into a bathroom. Make sure you take them to the backyard. Take them somewhere where they're not going to get shocked. Spray them down. Get all the loose debris off the leaves. Get all the loose, if there's bugs on the leaves, get them all blasted off. Just spray it down. And then, like I said, take either neem oil or a pesticide and spray it down. Right after you spray it down with the water, spray it down with the pesticide. That way you're knocking them off, and then you're spraying it down with the pesticide to be able to lock in that pesticide on the new growth. Whatever new babies are in there, whatever, you got the appearance off, and then whatever is the larvae, whatever that's in the soil or still on the leaves that you might have missed or something, that gets killed as soon as you spray it with the spray, and as soon as they try to pop open, they die. And you gotta kind of just keep up with that. But yeah, number 2, spray your plants down when you bring them in. Number 3, soil. Soil could be a big thing. A lot of people that are new to the hobby, they will go to the store, to the big box stores, whatever, and they'll buy potting soil from the bags, just regular potting soils, Miracle Grow soil. They don't know what it is. They're just buying the regular soil. They see soil, they're like, I need that soil. A lot of times that soil that you're buying is gonna have pests in it. Unfortunately, it's gonna have larvae in it, worms, just random things in it. I've had literally from earthworms to these little centipede, little curly things pop up in my soil way back in the day when I very first started growing things. I used to buy potting soil, and it's too muddy. It holds water too much. Look, there's like a little bug right here that's like bothering me right now. Like literally just one little bug bothering me, one little gnat. So you see there is a gnat every now and then, but they're not like everywhere. But there's just one in particular gnat that's bothering me right now. But when you notice when you buy that box store mud, I call it mud. When you buy that box store mud, it literally holds so much liquid. It can be wet for weeks, months at a time. There's a lot of bacteria in it that will kill your roots. I do not advise, if you buy potting soil from the store, highly advise. You buy hydrogen peroxide as well, and you buy perlite and beach sand, and you mix the beach sand and perlite in with that potting soil to give it more aeration, and you also throw the hydrogen peroxide to go out and kill off any bacteria. Now, hydrogen peroxide kills off all the bacteria, good and bad. So you have to be careful when using hydrogen peroxide. You don't want to use it too much because then you're going to kill all the bacteria and then the soil's going to be dead. Use it that one time, get rid of all the bacteria, and then let it start naturally growing back. Don't use it once a week or nothing. That's hydrogen peroxide is used very, very rarely. If you use it once, don't use it for months again, because you need your beneficial bacteria to be able to fight off the bad bacteria. So that's just another that's science right there. That's another conversation. But soil, make sure your soil bacteria is on point. Make sure it doesn't have bugs in it. Like I said, I like to pre-mix my soil. I like to pre-make my soil. I go and buy peat moss, I buy perlite, and I buy beach sand, and I do normally like a 30% peat, 40% beach sand, and 30% perlite, and sometimes I'll switch to perlite and beach sand just depending on what the plant is. More palms, like I'm not saying all my palms, but more so palm-like items, get more beach sand, more so like actual like soil plants-ish. I would like to think about it. It's not really like a proper term I'm using, but more soil-like-ish plants get more perlite. It's just a 10% change. Sometimes I'll do 35, 35, 30, you know what I'm saying? Just to make sure everybody's happy. But you want that soil to be draining. You want it to be able to have air and the water. You want it to be able to get saturated. You want the roots to get saturated, but you also don't want the roots holding on to water. You also want the water to be able to go around the roots, but you also want air to be able to touch the roots as well. That way, roots can breathe air because they need oxygen, but then they also need water and they can't dry out. So roots are very in the middle. They need air, but they need water. And not all plants are like that. Like the Alocasias, you can drown those in water. Like literally, bog plants, they're called more so bog plants. Any kind of bog plant could more so be drowned in water. Plants that aren't bog plants aren't bog plants need a little bit more air in their soil. That's how I basically ratio my soil when I'm pre-making it. Is this a bog plant? No, so we're gonna go ahead and give it more air. Is this a bog plant? Yes, we're going to ahead and make sure it has a little bit more moisture and that can hold a little bit more moisture. That way, it's easy. And when you're pre-mixing your soil, you don't have to worry about pests because guess what? Your likely chance of having worms and larvae and the beach sand, the perlite, and the peat moss are very low. I'm not gonna say it's zero, but it's like, obviously it might happen. I'm not saying it's never gonna happen. It might happen, but it's very rarely ever gonna happen, just to let you know. So make your own soil, you don't have to worry about pests. That was point 3. Point 4, airflow. Airflow is very important in the garden, people. I see people have indoor gardens with no fans. They'll have a ceiling fan, but the ceiling fan is never on. And I'm like, where's your airflow? Where's your constant movement of these leaves? These plants need airflow, and without airflow, bugs thrive, especially spider mites. Spider mites love stagnant, dry air. So the more airflow, the better. And all airflow is not good. That's another thing. A lot of people think airflow, I'll just crank up my AC. I'll just crank up my ceiling fan, like this and that. Like, if you crank up your airflow, you also have to crank up your humidity a little bit, just so you know. A lot of plants don't like constant blowing on them. A lot of plants don't like constant. That's why if you do get fans, make sure they're oscillating fans or they're ceiling fans. That way they're dragging air all around. With standing fans that just sit and stand in one spot, constantly blowing on one spot of the plant, that's going to dry out your leaves quickly, and that's another issue you're going to have. You don't want that. You want airflow to prevent bugs and to keep your plants nice and healthy, to promote stronger growth on your leaves and your stems and everything. You need airflow, but you don't want constant blowing on your leaves because that's going to dry them out. So up your humidity, up your airflow. Make sure you got a couple of oscillating fans. I have a ceiling fan. I have a fan that's over there by the window that's blowing next to a humidifier, so it's blowing moisture around. And I have an oscillating fan up here next to another humidifier that's blowing that humidifier's humidity around the room as well. Constant airflow. I'm actually going to get one more fan and put it right over there on the stairs. That way it's blowing right here, and right here is getting just a little bit more airflow. It's going to be an oscillating little fan right there, but it's going to just give it a little bit more airflow over here as well. Airflow, airflow, airflow. Very important, airflow. Number 5, humidity. That's just kind of what I was just saying with the airflow. High humidity. A lot of bugs don't like humidity. Like, that's kind of weird, but because yeah, a lot of like mosquitoes and stuff like humidity, but I don't have mosquitoes in my house. It's not an issue. I don't have bodies of water sitting for mosquitoes to lay larvae, for the larvae to hatch, for them to be mosquitoes. You need sitting water for larvae of mosquitoes to be, and you need a mosquito to come and lay the eggs in the water for it to happen. You don't get time for that in here. All the water in here is moving. There's fish in the water that will eat the larvae, and it just doesn't happen. There's no sitting water. So, humidity. Get your humidity up. Humidity up, you don't have to worry about brown tips too much. I mean, obviously you're always gonna have brown tips. Like, that's, people like get over it. If you have brown tips, don't cry. Like, brown tips happens. Like, it's not the end of the world. But without humidity, your chances of brown tips go up, your chances of bugs go up, your chances of your plants just not doing as great go up. So humidity is important. And now that kind of goes with spraying. A lot of people will say don't spray your plants. That's if you have like 5 or 6 plants with a little spray bottle. Yeah, don't. It's a waste of your time. But if you have a jungle like this and you actually spray your plants and you spray your leaves, like with a sprayer, with the one you pump up and you spray, it looks like a mini pressure washer kind of thing. Yeah, that does work. All right, that will not only up your humidity, it'll actually, if you do it right and you already have a proper if you already have the proper environment for it, it'll actually spike your humidity, and it'll keep your humidity spiked all day. You just gotta be careful doing that because you have to have airflow so you don't get mold. That's where airflow is very important with humidity. When you have a lot of humidity, you have to have a lot of airflow too, so everything is flowing and nothing's getting moldy and stale, and it's a science, people. It's a science. There's a reason why jungles work and your house probably doesn't. And that's because the jungle's kind of very perfect with its airflow, humidity, heat, cool, all that. I literally it's kind of weird. I actually have on my phone, I have the Amazon's, I keep track of the Amazon's temperature, and I keep track of Miami's temperature, and I try matching their temperature, humidity, and wind all the time. I try matching them, and actually sometimes I actually succeed and be doing better. This morning my humidity was actually higher than the Amazon's. Can you actually believe that? The Amazon was only like 66% humidity this morning, 66% humidity this morning, and my house was about 77% when I left, and it stays around 77, 74, 75. It'll drop to like, lowest my humidity drops to like 65. But it stays normally around 70. But it was crazy. My house was more humid than the Amazon and Miami this morning. Miami's temperature was, I think, 88 degrees. So it was like, no, it was 78 degrees. So it was 6 degrees hotter than my house. And that was this morning, not this afternoon. That was this morning. And the Amazon was, I think, 80-something degrees. I think it was like 88 degrees in the Amazon as well. 88 in the Amazon, 76 in Miami. So the Amazon had me beat definitely by temperature because my house was only 72. Miami had me beat by temperature by 6 degrees. But the humidity, I had way higher humidity than both of them. And it rained only 0.2 inches. It said 0.2 inches in the last 24 hours in Miami at that point. And it rained 0 inches of of rain in the Amazon. So that's why it was so low with the humidity. If it would have rained a little bit in the Amazon, it would have been in the 90%. Amazon be in the 90%. With humidity. I'll be trying to keep, I can keep up with Miami a lot easier than I can keep up with the Amazon when it comes to humidity. But that's what I be trying to do. I literally try to match the Amazon and Miami because that's where plants thrive. Why would they not thrive in here if I'm matching their environment? So match your plants' environments. I also watch a lot of documentaries on people walking and looking at house plants in the nature. You should actually go check that out. Summer Rain actually did one. It was actually pretty cool. I forgot where she was. I want to say Costa Rica or somewhere like that. And she was actually like checking out house plants in the wild. And there's some other people that do it too, but hers was pretty cool. Just give her a little shout out. All right, next tip, number 6, spray. Oh, that's literally what I already talked about too. So spray your plants. Spray with water, spray with pesticides, spray with neem oil. Just spray at least 3 times a week with one of. So if you're gonna do water, spray with water once, and then on Thursday, spray with neem oil, and then on Sunday, spray with a little pesticide, and then Monday again, or Tuesday, Wednesday, spray with water, and then Saturday, spray with, just every 3 days. Make sure you're at least every 3 days. I spray my plants every day. You don't have to do that. I have a lot of plants and I have a lot of OCD and I do not want bugs in here. So yeah, like I spray my plants every day. I don't want any of my plants declining. I want my plants constantly thriving. So I spray my plants every day. I spray them every day. Sometimes it's a very heavy spray. Sometimes it's a very light, but my plants get sprayed every day. And sometimes I throw a little of my fish. So the fertilization I use on my fish tanks, I'll throw a little bit of that in my spray water because the plants can take it in through the foliage. Because obviously if my plants in the aquarium can take it in through their foliage, why can my house plants not do the same thing? It's iron, it's the same stuff that's going into the foliage in the Amazon, iron and calcium and magnesium and all these other and all these other things. So why can't my house plants take it too? You got to think logical, and that's just a whole other story too on how the Amazon gets nutrients. Did you know the Amazon actually gets its nutrients from Africa? Did you know that? Did you know big balls of dust wind go over the Atlantic Ocean and from Africa, from the Sahara Desert over to the Amazon and fertilizes the Amazon, and then when it rains, the fertilizer goes to the soil. It's a whole thing. Do your research, people. It's pretty crazy how like the world works. Like it ain't just like there just because it's there. Like it's there because of certain elements and how it works. But yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, I spray mine with the fish fertilizer, just a little bit, micro traces, just for them to get a little bit in there because they already get fertilized in the soil. So I want to have them a little bit on the outside too. It helps, I think, with the greenery. I think that's why a lot of my Alocasias and a lot of my palms are really green because the spray they get. But yeah, spray your plants, people. Spray your plants. It's really good to spray your plants. I don't know why people say don't mist your plants. I understand like don't mist your plants if you have like 1 or 2 around the house. But if you have like a little jungle, spray your house, bro. Like it'll help with pest and humidity and dust, and it's natural. That's what plants love. Like they like to be weighed down with the water so they can come back up when they're dry. It helps with the strength of the stems as well. You get it? Come on, guys. It's nature. Upkeep. It's kind of what I was just talking about too. I kind of keep going into everything how I'm at. I kind of like how I did that. I'm going into everything perfectly. Upkeep. Spray once in a while. Like I was saying, once every 2 to 3 days spray. Like I spray every day, but you don't have to do that. That's excessive. But spray your plants every 3 days. Check, and not just the tops. Like actually, like take the little sprayer, because you can flip the sprayer around. You can turn the little nozzle and spray it so it's spraying upwards, and go underneath your plants and spray underneath the leaves. Spray on top of the leaves. Spray all the leaves, spray the stems a little bit, depending on the plant. If you have a Majestic palm, do not spray your Majestic palm. Bird of Paradises, be very careful on spraying your Bird of Paradises. Some plants don't like water going into the crevices, where they're like this. Some plants don't like water getting into those little spots because that's where mold will start. So it's another thing where your airflow has to be very good because, otherwise mold will start to grow in those. So you got to be careful on spraying, on how much you spray if you don't have the proper airflow. I have tons of airflow. We're not worried about that. That was it, basically. Yeah, basically, like I said, buy healthy plants, If you're buying healthy plants, you don't have to really worry about it too much at all. Obviously, you have to do your upkeep and your keep ups, but don't worry about too much. Just buy healthy plants. Number 2, but don't forget to spray your plants when you bring them in. Make sure you're spraying them with wash them off in the shower, and then spray them or outside, wherever you can spray them off, and then spray them with some neem oil, spray them with some pesticides. Just make sure make sure you're eradicating anything that might be trying to come into your garden before you bring it in. Soil, number 3, make sure your soil is healthy. As long as you got some healthy soil, you should be Gucci to go. Airflow, make sure you got tons of airflow, lots of positive airflow. You don't want dry or cold or nothing like that. You want really good positive airflow with some humidifiers in front of them possibly, so you're blowing humidity air around and it's not just dry air, and make sure your fans are oscillating and everything's just moving and constantly happy. All right, humidity, make sure your humidity is high. High humidity really helps with like a lot of plant issues. I have a lot of people ask me plant questions, and humidity helps for literally like 90% of that. So humidity. Spray, like I was saying, spray your plants. Spray your plants. Spray them on a schedule. Like I don't tell people that keep a water schedule. I'm highly against the water schedule. Do not keep a watering schedule because every plant is different. Your seasons are different. Your days are different. Today might be hot. Tomorrow might be cloudy and you don't get no sun, and it just depends. Like you can't go on a watering schedule. You can be on a spraying schedule, making sure you're spraying your plants and you're keeping your pests down. That's a schedule you definitely can keep with plants, is a spraying schedule. So spray every 2 to 3 days. I spray, like I said, I spray every day personally. If you want to be that guy and spray every day and have a luscious green garden like I do, you can do that. But spray every day. Like there's sometimes, like I didn't spray today, but I sprayed heavily yesterday, and last night I sprayed a little bit because I just got a new plant. So I sprayed again last night. So I didn't need to spray this morning. That would have been excessive. So pick your times and your days. Oh, it's another thing. Do not spray during the day. If your plants can see the sun and you spray on that plant, you're going to have sunburns. You're going to have sun scorches from the water evaporating and the sun is shooting through the water beam and burning the leaf right there. You're going to have water burn spots. I don't know what you call it. Sun spots, something like that. Do not spray your plants during the day. I spray my plants very early in the morning before the sun's even up, or I spray it very late at night. Make sure you spray your plants at certain times. Another thing, I also turn off my fan at night. I turn off all my main fans except for the one ceiling fan. I keep that going obviously because you don't want to kill all air. But I turn my main fans off because at night they tell you in gardens you don't want there to be too much wind at night, because in nature there's not too much wind at night. It's kind of more so kind of still. So at night, turn off your fans, and that way your plants have a time to relax, regenerate, think about their day. If there's CO2 present in the air, which there's CO2 pumping in my tank, so there's always CO2 present, that gives them time to absorb the CO2. That gives them time to absorb the CO2. And yeah, so turn your fans off at night. It helps your plants for sure. That's a benefit. That's something I brought over from like when I used to grow cannabis. So yeah, turn your fans off at night. Spray, make sure you spray. Keep up. Make sure you upkeep, definitely do it on a schedule. That's it. So thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. The next episode is going to be talking about the Dwarf Cavendish. I've been getting a lot of questions on the Dwarf Cavendish, so I'm going to go ahead and knock a video out on your care on a Dwarf Cavendish, a banana plant, a musa. That's going to be a pretty good video. I'll have that out. What's today? I'm gonna drop this probably, hopefully. I don't like to say days because then if I don't do it, then it pops up and it's like, But I'll have that probably within a week after I drop this video. Within a week, not a week. Within a week, I will have that Dwarf Cavendish video for you guys here on the ZTY Palm channel. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Hit that ringer so you get the notifications on when I drop new videos. I hope you guys have a great week and see you later. Peace.